I'm Heyzeus, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the history of CSGO's secret item meta, sponsored by Skinport, the easy-to-use skins marketplace where you can sell your skins for real cash. So you're probably aware of the fact that there is a meta in competitive CSGO, which changes over time. Different techniques, different strategies, different approaches to the game. Just compare Classic Fnatic to Classic Astralis. But what you might not realise is that CSGO actually has a second competitive scene, and this scene has its own meta. Now, this second scene is the skin scene, and make no mistake, it's competitive. It's full of people who are one way or another trying to turn a profit. And because of this, it's developed its own item meta, and that's what I want to look at in this video. Now, CSGO's item meta has a very consistent theme. Basically, it all revolves around someone trying to screw someone else. And this goes right back to the very start with Valve. You see, when they released skins in late 2013, they provided people with two ways to buy and sell skins. One was the community market, and the other was trading. Now, the community market was safe, convenient, fast, and easy to use, but it had a fairly major problem. Namely, that Valve used it to screw players with a 12% sales fee. Not much fun, and this led to the development of CSGO's first ever item meta, because people turned to trading to get around this problem, but of course, trading required some sort of currency to be convenient. So people turned to CSGO keys, which were tradable, could be sold more or less instantly, and had a fixed value. So as a result, they came to dominate the trading meta, particularly during the early years of CSGO. But very quickly, they started to become overshadowed by other things. And the first of these things would be betting. So in early 2014, a site called CSGO Lounge pioneered a system which allowed people to bet their skins on professional CSGO matches. I have very fond memories of this site, but in all honesty, it was kind of an awful place because people used it to screw each other. First of all, bettors would regularly DDoS the team they bet against to give themselves that extra competitive edge. And if the bettors weren't doing the DDoSing, pro players would bet on themselves and then fake being DDoSed by running a torrent in the background to try and get the match cancelled if they were losing. But the worst part was the actual match fixing, which was often coordinated between pro players and international match fixing syndicates. Now, iBoPower's Throw might be the best known example, but it's actually a fairly minor example. In fact, the worst match fixing actually took place in the Asian region, and it sometimes got so bad that both teams would attempt to throw a match at the same time.
В блайнде он ничего не видит, слева, наверное, пропустил своего оппонента и по времени выиграл, да?
Still better than me when I play comp, but this thriving business of screwing people revolved around a brand new item meta. You see, around the time CSGO Lounge was taking off, Valve released a case called the Phoenix case, which contained two wildly popular skins, the AK Redline and the Orb Asimov, and because of their relatively high value and stable price, they quickly became a sort of currency in their own right, mostly used for betting, and to this day, they're still sort of famous skins as a result. But things are about to get way more expensive than this, because soon people figured that you couldn't just run betting sites using skins, you could also run literal casinos. Now, for all the problems with CSGO Lounge, the people behind it were pretty well intentioned, but the people who were setting up these casinos, on the other hand, well, they weren't quite so well intentioned. They were here to screw people, and many of the casinos they set up were outright scams advertised with outright fraud.
He lost, but he got money.
I lost, but I just won $7 grand.
Out of no, we don't even know how.
Well, that sounds totally legit, but this created a brand new item meta. You see, a lot of the advertising revolved around people doing massive bets and then rigging it so they could win.
I won a pot of like $69 or something like that, so it was a pretty small pot, but it was like the coolest feeling ever.
Only $69? What an amateur. No, if you really want to sell gambling effectively to your audience, who are mostly kids by the way, you need to go big. You need to be gambling massive amounts of money. And to make that easy, influencers, or in some cases fraudsters, quickly turned to using very expensive skins to do that, stuff like the How, the Dragonlord and the Medusa. Now, quite a bit of this advertising was actually rigged, and when the audience went to gamble, they got screwed, but it also established these skins as being at the top of CSGO's item meta. These were the #1 items you got to show off how rich you were. However, that wouldn't last forever. Beginning in 2016, fierce competition began to emerge from a group of items called the CASHOUT 14 stickers. You've probably heard of them, they're kind of famous. And over the next couple of years, they would come to cement themselves as CSGO's new #1 item, the ultimate flex. If you want to show off how rich you are these days, start slapping CASHOUT stickers on things. But the way they got to this point is a pretty murky tale, and a lot of it can be traced back to a cabal of traders in early 2015 who decided they were going to screw people. So if you look at the price history of the Iberpower Holo, you'll notice this very distinct increase here during early 2015, and this happened because of a coordinated price manipulation campaign run by a group of traders targeting the Chinese community, which was also done with a bunch of other CASHOUT stickers, and it was a massive success. The manipulators inflated the price to a couple of $100 and then dumped the stock they were holding and walked away having made a tidy little profit. But then something weird happened. The stickers kept on going up in price. They went up and up and up and up, all the way until today when some of them are literally worth a 5-figure sum. But it all goes back to the first place with this price fixing episode, all the way back in 2015, a forgotten piece of CSGO's long history of people screwing each other. Now, the whole time all this screwing was going on, there'd actually been a meta shift away from keys and trading, and again, it happened because people were getting screwed. Basically, from very early on, people were trading skins for real cash, but it was really easy to scam people if you were doing that, chargebacks, not keeping your end of the bargain, etc. So this led to the creation of what's called a CASHOUT site, where you can safely sell your skins for real cash. Now, these are still a big deal, even today. This video is literally sponsored by a CASHOUT site, but I should mention the site that pioneered it. OP Skins, now long deceased, but a massive deal at the time, and OP Skins made buying and selling skins so convenient that most casual traders actually gave up on trading and just started buying and selling their skins on OP Skins. It turned trading and keys into a niche thing that the big traders and collectors still used it, but your average player didn't anymore because they had a really safe and convenient alternative in OP Skins. However, the good times didn't last, largely because people were getting screwed, in particular by the gambling scene, and after a series of big scandals, Valve had to screw everyone to put a stop to it. First of all, there were a series of bans in 2016. These took out betting sites like CSGO Lounge, but they didn't take out that many gambling sites, and after further scandals and further cases of people getting screwed, Valve tried something more radical, a 7-day cooldown on skins every time you trade them. Now, this went down about as well as a bacon sandwich in a synagogue. It caused chaos in the community, it killed trading, it killed gambling, and it hit CASHOUT sites hard. And for a little while, it looked like this was the final screw. But then, people came up with a new meta. First of all, traders turned using Dota 2 Arcanas because they had stable prices, were easy to sell, and didn't have a trade hold after you traded them. And thanks to a booming Chinese market, things quickly took off again. And in the meantime, gambling sites figured out how to run peer-to-peer trading systems to bypass the trade hold and Valve banning their bots, and this meant the industry eventually got a lot of its mojo back. Now, it is worth mentioning that a lot of the people who are left are a lot more careful and want viable long-term businesses. They aren't flagrantly scamming people for a quick buck, but it's interesting that Valve have basically completely failed in bringing down the industry. It's still here, it's still making a lot of money, and as for the CASHOUT sites, well, they basically recovered on their own. Their business model was actually kind of fine. But by 2019, the scene was booming again, stronger than it ever had been before, and there's only really been a few changes to the meta since then. In late 2019, for example, Valve had to disable any type of trading involving keys because money launderers were using them to screw people. Not that people really cared that much because keys weren't that important anymore. And in 2020, Valve slapped a 7-day trade hold on Arcanas, meaning they were suddenly far less useful for trading. But again, people didn't really mind too much because there were peer-to-peer trading sites they could use instead now. They'd essentially transcended the item meta, so for once, it didn't really screw them. And that pretty much brings us up to date. CASHOUTs are still CSGO's top tier item, trading has mostly moved to real money transactions, gambling has completely evaded Valve's attempt to stop it, it's pretty sophisticated nowadays, it's all a world away from 2013, but it's only a matter of time before someone finds a new way to screw. And when they do, I am gonna be watching. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, massively appreciated. And a big thank you to Skinport for sponsoring this channel. Skinport, formerly known as SkinBay, it's the same site. All that's changed is the name, is a skins marketplace and cash-out site. It's safe, convenient, easy to use. It's got a super competitive sales fee of 5% if you put skinport.com in your username, a really, really low fee if you're looking to sell your skins. If you're looking to buy instead, it's got a ton of great deals with over 100,000 CSGO skins listed, as well as easy to use deposit and withdrawal options. Awesome site, check it out, link is in the description. Anyway, that's it from me. As always, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm Heyzeus, thanks for watching, see ya.